Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I think it's important for us to consider how the emotions are affecting our emotions are affecting our families, and what we can do as a community together to kind of gather around our kids. So thanks for joining me this morning. Thanks for being here. We're all here today because we love our kids. We care about them and we want to support them. We want them to grow and develop and flourish. But before we can get started talking about how that can happen, I think it's important for us to think about what we hope for our kids. So let's think about, what do we hope for our children? What are our dreams for our kids? What skills, what traits, what characteristics do we want to see them develop? I want you to just take a minute to think about that. And then when you're ready, if you're willing, if you just drop in some of your hopes and dreams for your kids, what skills, what traits, drop it into the chat box. What skills, what traits, what characteristics are you hoping that we could see our kids develop, that we want to see in future generations? Us now, I know there's people are trickling in. We're just kind of sharing out some of our hopes and dreams for our kids. What do we hope for our kids? What kind of skills or traits or characteristics do we hope that our kids will have, or future generations will emulate? And if you want to drop your thoughts into the chat box. It's beautiful seeing everyone's hopes and dreams. But this is some of the things I heard from you all. And I'll keep it going as people are dropping more thoughts in. But we want our kids to be confident, we want them to be kind, we want them to be responsible, follow Jesus Christ, be faithful, be respectful, value their family, have family values, be caring, live a full life, be loving, charitable, understanding of others, have a strong faith, be polite. I just saw polite drop in there. All right, so you may have noticed that a lot of these responses don't necessarily reflect the mastering of specific academic skills. In fact, I'd say that a lot of these don't reflect mastering specific academic skills. So what we're really hoping for our kids, as caregivers, we want our kids to develop an array of skills needed to build a foundation for a productive life. Skills such as respect, responsibility, self-confidence, problem-solving, kindness, teamwork, self-control, so that they can continue to have personal and also academic growth. But how, as adults, can we create an environment where they can reach those goals? And that's what we're going to discuss today. So what we're going to talk about today: why emotions matter, the skills of emotional intelligence, the tools specific to this program, and then how to practice it as a family. So let's jump right in. Emotions drive attention, memory, and learning. So just think about it. Have you ever tried to pay attention? Maybe even right now is a moment like that for you. Have you ever tried to pay attention to something when you were really, really anxious about something? How did that go? Was it difficult? Was it easy? I know for me, if I'm anxious about something, it's really hard to pay attention, right? Perhaps your children have come to you for homework help and you're distracted by some sort of news that you just received or something that happened at work that day. How does it affect your conversation with your child when you're feeling anxious? Or if your child arrives at school in the morning and they're really upset about something that happened before school, how do you think that they're going to do when they try to learn in class? Emotions drive our decision making. Who here has ever made a bad decision? Okay, I have. We consider our emotions when we make decisions. Does it feel right? Different moods lead us to different types of decision making. For example, if we wake up after a really bad night's sleep, We may or may not have the energy to do something fun with our kids that weekend if we didn't sleep well the night before, right? The decisions that we make can be affected very easily by how we're feeling. Emotions impact our relationships. The research has found that children who are good at managing their emotions, who are emotionally skilled, have better quality friendships, better social skills, and they're viewed as leaders by their teachers. Emotionally skilled caregivers experience more positive emotions and have better relationships with their children. And people who are aware of their emotions in themselves are able to, and aware of their emotions in others, make better collaborators on projects. So, all right, emotions affect our health. In particular, how we manage emotions is linked to our health. Emotionally skilled children have less anxiety, depression, hyperactivity. Many health-related illnesses are a part of poor emotional regulation. So knowing what to do with our emotions actually improves our health. And isn't that what we all want for our kids? And certainly what we want for ourselves. Emotions affect our everyday effectiveness. So 8 in 10 employers say that social and emotional skills are the most important determiner of success, but yet also they're the hardest to find. It's hard to find employees who are socially and emotionally skilled. So in other words, emotions impact every aspect of our life. They touch everything, and they're going to impact our day-to-day functioning. So you may be wondering about emotions and how they affect your life. So we're going to dive in here and do a little exercise together. Thanks for your willingness to just enter fully in. I think if you're willing to get a little bit out of your comfort zone during this presentation and really enter in, you're going to get the most out of it. So I want you to think about all the emotions that you experience in a day, and I'm going to lead you through a little visualization. So if you're seated right now, and I think most of you are, go ahead and sit up tall. Place your feet firmly on the floor. If you're standing, you can stand if you want, that's fine. Close your eyes if you don't like to close your eyes, you don't have to. If you want to fix your gaze on something just in front of you, but soften your gaze. And I want you to think about your day. Any given day. When you're waking up, how are you feeling? And as you move through the morning, as you get dressed and put together, you're making breakfast, or you're being so rushed that you skip the breakfast, helping your kids get ready for school, making sure the bags are packed with lunches, last night's homework, reminding your kids, obviously things have changed now that we're in quarantine, but reminding your kids or helping them to brush their hair and teeth, making your way to work or getting your work set up for the day, getting all your family routines in place. How are you feeling? As you begin work for the day, whatever the transition is with your kids in the morning, do you notice shifts in your emotions? How do you feel throughout the day at meetings, with work relationships, with your different responsibilities? All right, it's the end of the school day. How do you reconnect with your family? What do your conversations with your children look like? Is it time for household chores and maybe help with some homework? How are you feeling? Now we're preparing for dinner. It's dinner time, the evening. Are you feeling burnt out or are you feeling rejuvenated? What kind of emotions are you bringing into the home in the evening hours when you're together? And what about your before bedtime routines? Do you have to force bedtime with your kids, or is it an easy transition? Is it a time of closeness? What else are you doing before you go to bed? And how are you feeling at the close of the day? Right, thanks so much for entering into that with me. How many of you believe that you lived the roller coaster ride? I know, I do. Yeah, I know. I see some hands going up. Thanks for being honest. I appreciate it. Our kids experience the same roller coaster of emotions throughout the day. It's endless. Minute by minute, our emotions change, just like a roller coaster. Many people can experience 400 to 500 emotions a day. Our emotions are signals that carry important information. So the question is, what are we going to do with the information? How are we attending to the information that our emotions offer us? Are we managing our emotions effectively? How do our children understand their emotional lives and manage their emotions? What helps us to feel empathy for others? The reason that why we care about all of this, all these questions, is that research shows that emotions matter in many ways. Social emotional learning is how our kids learn about their feelings in themselves and others, and how to manage their feelings so that they can have positive relationships and make good choices. And obviously this has everything to do with what we're doing as educators, but also what you're doing day to day, moment to moment in your home. And we want to support you in that. All right, so when it comes down to it, learning for our kids is social and emotional. The academic skills of reading, writing, and math are intertwined with our emotions. Kids who effectively manage their emotions are more likely to persevere and to achieve their potential academically and personally, across the board. So I want to talk a little bit about the ruler approach. Emotional intelligence provides a framework for understanding the role of emotions, the information we can have and gain from our emotions, our ability to manage our emotions. It also includes the importance of using these skills, not just having them and knowing about them, so actually putting them into practice in our daily life, having strategies to meet our goals. So in other words, it's about being smart about our emotions. I'm checking the chat box from time to time in case you all have questions, and I will, happy to stop and answer any questions you might have. All right, so what is ruler specifically? Ruler provides everyone in the school, the community, the students, the teachers, the staff, the administrators, and the families with social and emotional learning, which is intended to help our lives overall. So the adults are trained first, and the adults in this building as teachers, this is our third year using the tools ourselves. We actually use the tools as a staff for a full year before bringing them into the classroom with our kids. The adults are trained first because in order for our kids to get along and achieve academically, we have to have the skills and strategies to manage our own emotions. I wasn't intending to share this in the presentation, but there was this really interesting study out of Yale where teachers were grading papers, same paper. The teacher graded it, had a bad day in both scenarios. The teacher who acknowledged her emotions before grading the paper was able to be objective in grading. The teacher who didn't acknowledge that she had a bad day and was feeling really badly graded the paper really unfairly. So it's really important for us as educators to be aware of how we're feeling and how our feelings do affect everything we do. The same is true for you as parents, right? And I know that we know this in our experience. I think what we need is just those tools to work with our kids to manage. So as we practice and improve our skills, we can see positive effects that our emotional intelligence brings to our relationships and to our families, to our friendships and to our work. The more we use the skills of emotional intelligence in our day-to-day life, the easier it becomes for us to model these skills for our kids, just because these skills become a part of who we are. All right, so I'm going to share a little video with you.
Ruler makes our school a better place. I feel that Ruler has helped me because I'm able to show who I really am.
I think after having Ruler come in, I've grown so confident and just like what I've always seen myself to be.
Ruler asserts that all emotions matter. All emotions. It's the full range of emotions that makes us human, and it's the full range of emotions that helps us to get through life. Ruler is a systemic approach to social and emotional learning. We want to give school districts the opportunity to build a common language for social and emotional learning.
You need a feeling, or else you can't cooperate, you can't communicate, and you can't really do anything. If you were mad, you can't talk about being mad and be calmer.
Too many kids are holding it all in, and we're seeing a rise in anxiety and stress in children that doesn't need to be there.
They're really thinking about cyberbullying and body shaming as opposed to academics.
If we are all working together on our social emotional language, we are making the school a safer, more caring, and joyful place to be for all children.
Research shows that kids who go through this kind of training are less stressed. They do have less depression.
Students are having better conversations with each other. Discipline incidents have decreased. Students are able to be more creative. It really supports the development of the whole child in every way.
Ruler is a set of 5 key skills that are the underlying skills of emotional intelligence. Recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, regulating emotions. We used a set of anchor tools to help people build greater self-awareness, to build a better emotional vocabulary.
The tools have helped make our students more aware of their classmates.
We're trying to give everyone the opportunity to become more emotionally skilled.
Try to empathize with the other character as well. How do you think the other person felt? And how did the other person show and handle their feelings?
Ruler begins by training the adults in schools to shift their mindsets around the value and importance of emotions.
Just teaching them the ruler skills and the anchor tools and using it in everything we did with each other.
Because educators, like kids, come from many different places. And so really getting them to take a look and reflect upon their own practices. What are they doing and how do they resolve the issues that they are feeling within?
We really are investing in making sure that all of the adults are all embracing this approach so that every student can be successful.
With this, you're going to be able to teach.
We also work with families because we want children and their parents or caretakers to have the same language.
There's no doubt that the ruler approach allows for enhanced learning.
This is an approach that is for everyone. It helps everyone learn strategies to help them manage their lives so they can be healthier, happier, and more effective. My real hope is that every school would embed these principles into the way leaders lead, teachers teach, and students learn.
Thanks for your patience. We had a little technological glitch there for a second. So the ruler skills are, as Mark mentioned in the video, recognizing our emotions, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating them. And so we're going to just take a minute to look a little bit more closely at each of these skills. Some of these are require like interactive crowd participation, which we would do if we were in a live meeting. So we'll just imagine what it would be like, and then maybe you could practice some of these exercises later on with your kids. It might be a fun way to kind of engage in this work at home with your kiddos. So firstly, recognizing emotions. So if we were all together, we could do this exercise. It must be the next one. So R is for recognizing emotions. We can know how somebody is feeling just by looking at their bodies. Our faces and our bodies give cues or signs that help us to recognize how we're feeling and how others are feeling. So I know for me, if I hear like a really loud pop or like a really loud noise, my heart starts racing. I tense up, maybe my shoulders go up a little bit. You might even see my brow furrow, and that shows that I'm like a little elevated. I'm nervous about something. So our bodies actually have a physical manifestation of how we're feeling, and we can read that in other people. So the first skill, the first tool that we teach our kids is just recognizing our own emotions and our emotions in others. Emotions in others. When we feel at peace. Our body tends to be a little bit more relaxed. We might sit back in our chair. Our hands would be at ease. Our breathing is regulated, slow. Our face is relaxed. So we can see the emotions in ourselves and in others. Sorry, this is the activity that we're going to skip over, but go ahead and do this at home with your kiddos. It's a fun skill. Oh, let's just take. So the causes of our emotions could be events, could be thoughts that we have about events, our assumptions, our beliefs, how we interpret our experiences, the way we think about things can lead to having certain types of feelings. So when we understand the causes of our emotions, we can make better predictions about our own and others' behavior. So we can best understand our emotions in ourselves and in others by asking questions and trying to learn more. We all want to be understood. So listening carefully to what our emotions are telling us creates an environment where we can feel safe to feel and to talk about how we're feeling. This will help to build trust in our relationships with our kids, and they're going to be better able to problem solve because they have a clear understanding of what the problem is. So they need this permission to kind of understand why they're feeling the way that they're feeling. They may need our guidance and help in kind of naming a particular emotion, which is why we want to frequently be introducing them to different words, because there's a million different ways to say that we're happy, and there's a million different ways to say that we're sad. We can feel just a little bit irritated, or we can be enraged, or we can be livid, right? A little bit irritated and annoyed is a little bit different than feeling livid. And so we want to teach our kids kind of the whole full range of emotions so that they can name their emotion and really understand why they're feeling the way that they're feeling. We want to discuss with our kids what leads them to feel the emotion they're feeling without judgment. So like we never want for kids to feel like there's something wrong with feeling angry, or that there's anything wrong with feeling sad, or that there's anything wrong with feeling alone. Because emotions don't have value. It's what we do with our emotions. It's what choices we make, the behavior we decide to act on that has value. But our emotions are just information. What we wouldn't want is kids to think there's something wrong with feeling angry, or to think there's something wrong with feeling depressed or sad or alone or misunderstood. Because they're going to feel that way. And so we want them to understand why they feel that way. And then we want them to be able to have a space with us to be able to talk about how they're feeling without feeling like there's a judgment on our part, which really is going to take a lot of practice, because a lot of us are coming to this work with our own experience of how our families dealt with emotions growing up, and whether or not it was okay for us to express our emotions, and whether or not it was okay to feel a full range of emotions. So we want to kind of look at ourselves and see, can our kids express themselves, how they're feeling without judgment with us? And if not, to work on that as the adults in their lives. Labeling emotions. We want to label the emotion with a specific name. We need to name it in order to tame it. So how do we build this skill for our kids? We give them a whole range of emotion words. We encourage them to find the best word to describe specifically how they're feeling, which probably means that we're going to not let them say they feel sad. We want them to actually be able to identify what kind of sadness they're feeling. That they're not just feeling mad, but there's a specific, they're feeling annoyed. How you're feeling is annoyed right now. This person's doing something that's bothering you and it's getting on your nerves. So we want them to have a full range of vocabulary. So actually a tool that we use here at school, and I know I'm going to introduce it later, but I'm just going to bring it in now because I think it's a good moment. A tool that we use is Mood Meter. And so I'm going to pull up our mood meter for y'all. Just type into, if you have a device with you, if you type in, it's moodmeter.online and then this little, so what you're going to see, and I'll share it with you. I'm going to share a new screen with you. What you're looking at right now is the mood meter. The mood meter is a tool that we use at school to understand our emotions and to quantify how we're feeling. So the y-axis is energy. So low energy emotions are at the bottom of our mood meter. High energy emotions are at the top. The x-axis is pleasantness and unpleasantness. So pleasant emotions are the yellow and the green emotions. Unpleasant emotions are the red and the blue emotions. You'll notice that we don't say good and bad emotions because there are no good and bad emotions. Emotions are just information. Some emotions are pleasant to feel, some are unpleasant. So what I want you to do is to go ahead and just plot yourself on the mood meter right now. And I will start us off. So go ahead and think about how you're feeling with energy right now. Are you feeling high energy, low energy? And then pick a point on the y-axis of where you are right now. This is totally anonymous. Your name will not be associated with your feelings, so be totally honest. You can be raw and honest with us right now. And then think about how you're feeling as far as pleasantness. And go ahead and plot yourself on the mood meter. And once we are plotted, we're going to see each other's plots kind of show up on our mood meter. Hopefully you all can see what I'm seeing, which is some plots and then also words connected to those. This is a tool we use at school frequently. A lot of teachers use this tool when kids first come into school in the morning to plot how they're feeling. Somebody's feeling chill. I'm glad somebody's feeling chill. It's good. Oh, look at these focused. Love it. It's a super simple tool, but like I shared in the beginning when we talked about the teachers who were grading papers, and when they started grading the papers, they had a bad day. The one teacher acknowledged how she felt. I'm feeling miserable. You know, I'm sick and I'm tired. I didn't get enough sleep last night. This is not true about me. I'm just in this scenario with the teacher who's feeling miserable. She grades the papers and doesn't acknowledge how she feels. The other teacher's feeling the same way, acknowledges the emotion. All of the negative ramifications of the emotion, of it kind of getting control over our actions, over our decision making, it's taken away when we're able to name the emotion, which is why the mood meter is such a powerful tool. I'm going to move on with the rest of the presentation. The next skill that we teach our kids is expressing emotion. And I'd say, you know, we always jump right to the expressing before we kind of help our kids to recognize and understand and name how they're feeling, because they're already expressing how they're feeling usually by the time we get to that point. So what we want to create is reflective kids who are able to kind of reflect and understand and label how they feel before they get to the point of expression. So when we say expressing emotions, this involves knowing how and when to show our emotions. This is influenced by our social and cultural rules, usually unspoken, and they can be different in different situations with different people. Responding to and accepting all emotions does not mean that everything goes, right? We don't have this anything goes policy on expressing our emotions. We accept and we validate our emotions. All emotions are okay, but we set limits on behavior. So not all behaviors are okay. Our internal experience of an emotion, how we feel on the inside, isn't the same as how we show it to other people and the behaviors that other people see. And I think this is really important for us when we're empathizing with our kids. Most of us care a lot that our children learn to be respectful, to communicate appropriately, and it takes guidance and modeling to help them to learn how to manage their emotions in the moment and then express them in the best way. As caregivers, we can ask ourselves, are we expressing our feelings at the best time, in the best place, in the best way, even with our children? You know, for certain, I don't always express my emotions at the best time, in the best way, in the best place. Sometimes at home, we can get tired, we get stressed, we get let down, and we don't always model the best ways of expressing ourselves. So I just want to encourage you to show your children what good emotional expression looks like and to talk through it with them. Our last skill is regulating emotion. So we need to learn to regulate or manage our emotions. And this is actually like the crown of all the skills, the premier skill. So we need a bank of strategies for when we are experiencing really strong emotions. We need these strategies to regulate the emotions. We need to teach our kids these strategies. And there's two different kinds of types of strategies we're going to talk about: thought strategies and action strategies. So strategies that are going to help us to change how we're thinking or what we're saying to ourselves. And then action strategies, what we do to keep or shift how we're feeling. And kids are even beginning to form this skill even really at the earliest age. The first step in this process for us as caretakers is managing our own emotions. That's the best thing that will help our kids. And then we're going to be able to help our kids recognize and understand their own emotions. And this understanding will allow us to problem solve with them initially. Initially, we'll kind of model this for them, but then they're going to build these skills on their own. They're going to be able to use these strategies on their own. All right. Emotional regulation strategies that we may use may be automatic habits at this point. So what we want to ask is, are they serving us? Our unhelpful strategies require little or no effort. They provide immediate gratification. They're harmful to self sometimes. They can impact our relationships negatively. They don't actually resolve the problem. I'm talking about unhelpful strategies that don't serve us. This is things like venting, complaining, avoiding, maybe drinking too much, eating too much, watching too much TV, things that in the moment may help us to feel better temporarily, but in the long term don't bring us to a solution. So with this in mind, we're going to talk about some regulation strategies. Two types of strategies: thought strategies and action strategies. So two powerful thought strategies that we have are positive self-talk and reframing and positive reappraisal. So when we say positive self-talk, we mean telling ourselves something helpful and repeating a statement in our head that's going to help us through the situation. For instance, before a presentation like this one, we can say to ourselves, I've worked really hard to prepare. I'm going to do a good job. The presentation's going to be great. Okay, that's positive self-talk. Reframing and positive reappraisal, we can look at a situation from another perspective. For example, to reduce frustration when we're relating to a friend who's like canceled plans on us over and over and over again, we can remind ourselves that our friend is having a really hard time. She's going through something difficult, and maybe that's why she needs more alone time for herself. So we reappraise the situation, we reframe it to get another perspective. So some strategies we can only use in certain settings. So for example, if you're feeling stressed and you find it soothing to put earbuds in and listen to music, that might be fine at home, and especially now during quarantine. But when we're at work and we're in a meeting and we're with team members, we're not going to use the strategy of putting our earbuds in and listening to soft music at a team meeting. So some strategies are good for the short term and others are good for long term. So in the short term, there are things that are good for us, like deep breathing, right? Mindful breathing, being in tune with our body. I want to just introduce you to the tools that we're teaching our kids that I'd love for you to start using at home with them. And just as a little commercial break for what's coming, I'm going to do 10 little short breakout webinars, like little 20-minute webinars on some of these skills and how we can embed them into our homes. So this is just an overview, just an introduction today. All right, so here are the 4 tools: the mood meter, the charter, the meta moment, and the blueprint. I already introduced you to the mood meter. It's a self and social awareness tool that we use to recognize, understand, and label our own emotions and those of others. And we build emotion regulation strategies using the mood meter. The charter provides shared communication about how your family wants to feel when they're together at home. And every classroom in our school building has a charter. So the kids at the beginning of the year decided how they want to feel in the classroom. They want to feel supported. They want to feel calm. They want to feel confident. And then they decided on what they would expect from their classmates and from their teachers in order to feel those things. So to feel calm, a lot of our kids I know in the middle school charter, they want everyone to follow the rules. That's going to help them feel calm at school. In our middle school too, when kids want to feel confident, they said things like, I want my friends to listen to me when I'm presenting, and I want them to tell me when I've done a good job. In our middle school, I think one of our charter words is they want to feel challenged. And so they put activities like, I want my friends to give me constructive feedback, and I want them to encourage me when I'm struggling or help me when I need assistance. So we can do this in our family. How do we want to feel as a family? And what kinds of things do we expect of one another in order to consistently generate those feelings in our home? All right, the meta moment is a process for extending some time between the experience of an intense emotion and how we're going to respond. And then the blueprint helps us to problem solve effectively conflicts and situations that arise maybe repeatedly, maybe just with one specific person. I have this really difficult situation, a conflict that comes up over and over and over again. And the blueprint helps me to kind of navigate that, prompts me to reflect, to empathize, and to take some perspective. And I want to be conscious of your time too. So I'm gonna go through rather quickly, and that's so that I can see if you all have questions and listen to what you all want to say. It'd be helpful for me too to hear about what you'd like to hear more about, or what would be helpful for you in your home. So as a family, pay attention to your emotions, pay attention to the emotions of your kids, feel your feelings. It's important that everyone in the family have permission to feel how they're feeling and to name the feeling. And then take your child's feelings seriously. Ask them, how are you feeling? And give them some serious silence of listening to respond. Make times and places of silence so you can have those meaningful conversations. And we'll be able to get to those underlying causes for our kids. Choose your response wisely. So having feelings is different from acting on feelings. So we want to model effective strategies for our kids on how to manage our emotions. And remember that there's more than one way of looking at a situation. So taking different perspectives, doing some reappraisal as a family can be a great learning experience. We also want to take time each day to stay connected by reaching out to each other, letting each other know that we care. So relationships are the soil in which a child's social emotional learning skills grow. We know this to be true. All right, some closing thoughts. As we prepare our kids to live in a rapidly changing world where machines and digital automation are replacing many jobs, which we know will just continue to be the case, it's the skills that make us human that are going to be the most precious and the most necessary moving forward. Self-awareness, perspective taking, relationship building, cultural awareness, curiosity, creativity, resilience. And honestly, it's those skills of teaching our kids to be most beautifully human that are going to lead to their happiness. And obviously, God gave us emotions, so they can't be bad, right? He wants us to learn from them. They're information. They're not good or bad. They just tell us a little bit more about ourselves. And walking with our kids in building an emotional intelligence, I think is a great gift and will serve them long into their adult lives. All right, so at this point, I know some of you might have to go. It is 12 o'clock. So if you do need to go, it's totally fine to sign off. But if you do have questions, you can raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself, or you can just put your question in the chat box. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions. Any practical steps on doing this regularly? I think a great idea, and I can get this for you all if you're interested. I have one in my office somewhere, like a magnetic mood meter, just as a reminder to kind of like check in on how they're feeling. I think when we forget to check in on how we're feeling, and I think it's very likely that our kids right now, especially during this time of quarantine, because of how bizarre this situation is for us, it's very possible that like they haven't checked in on how they're feeling. I know for us as adults, we haven't. I did this with the teachers, and we did the same sort of process. And I think having somebody ask you, how are you really doing? And then kind of forcing you to really think about it and name how you're feeling, especially during this time of uncertainty, is really important. So I know there's lots of different creative ways. I have magnets I'm willing to give to any of you who'd like it. Magnets for like the fridge, for checking in, using the mood meter. I mean, creating a family charter is a great idea. It could be something simple that it's nice if you write it up together, and then writing up the charter as a family, like as a family, well, we want to feel calm, we want to feel confident, we want to feel supported. What does that look like? Maybe for your family, it looks like we're going to pray together we're going to pray together every day, and we're going to make it a family time, or we're going to pray for each other. And so that charter is a really great starting point, because the charter is like, this is what we want to feel, and this is what we're expecting of everybody in the family. It gets everybody on the same page. And then there's charter check-ins where, like, when there's moments, like right now, this moment that we're in of COVID-19, of kind of this uncertainty of what the future holds. Like, there are moments in our family lives, maybe when we lost a loved one, or we're going through something really hard together as a family, that maybe outside the home people aren't really aware, but within the home, being able to check in on our charter during times of turmoil with each other and say, like in our charter, we said we want to feel peaceful in the home. And right now, let's check in on that. Like, these are the things that we expect of each other to feel peaceful. We expect everyone to listen to each other. We expect everyone to do their part. So like that, keeping the house clean is a part of it being peaceful. So like everybody needs to be on the same page, or whatever it is in the charter. And doing like intentional charter check-ins. And if you're already praying together as a family, which I know many of you are, maybe part of that family prayer time is a time to check in and say, like, how are we living our charter, and how's everyone doing? So I really just think because we move at such a fast pace right now, even without COVID-19 has slowed us down, so it's a great blessing to us, actually. And I mean, I'm not saying COVID-19 is a blessing, but there is this effect of us having to slow down and stop and be present to ourselves and to our families. That is, we can receive some sort of grace through that. So I think we just have to be intentional. Yeah, intentional about kind of finding ways that work for our families to build that in. Any other questions that y'all have? And always, as always, just let me know what we can do to support you. We love you. I love you. I'm not going to speak collectively. I mean, we collectively love you, but I love you, and I pray for your families every day. And I know we're all carrying different things right now, and I think it's important now more than ever to kind of gather together, pray for each other, be community, and build community intentionally. And I think starting that right in our homes, is which you do so beautifully, is the most important part. So thanks for doing it. Thanks for your support of our mission, and I just feel so blessed now more than ever to be a part of this community, and so much of that is families like yours that make it such a rich place to be. So thanks. I think we're done. All right, take care.